Well, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us on this beautiful Friday. I'm Lisa Stearns. I'm here with Dr. Tim Cross, our Senior Vice President. We'll be updating you on some COVID-19 case numbers, and we will be sharing some additional Institute news, including some exciting upcoming events that you won't want to miss hearing about. Just as reminders, remember to keep your audio muted. Use the chat function on Zoom to ask questions. You can publicly post your question in chat, or you can send it privately to me. A recording of this session, as always, is being made and will be posted to the UTIA coronavirus website. And you can find the link on our homepage at utia.tennessee.edu. So, Tim, how is our case count currently looking for the university, the institute, and even the state?
Well, good afternoon, Lisa. Thanks for kicking us off. And in the words of a famous comedian whose name will escape me, I have to say I'm going to start with, I've got nothing. And that's great news. We've got no positive cases or isolations throughout the entire Institute of Agriculture. And we've got no positive cases or isolations for the entire UT Knoxville campus, of course, including the Institute of Agriculture. So obviously, we're continuing a downward trend in terms of COVID, and that's great news for all of us. And thankfully, I think our plans to return to the workplace have coincided with a significant downturn, and one that seems to continue to decline statewide. So all that's very positive news. Maybe of more interest right now is how are we doing on vaccinations? And I did take a quick look at our statewide numbers. It looks like right now in Tennessee, about 39% of our population has one vaccination, and we're a little bit over 33% fully vaccinated, either 2 doses or the single Johnson & Johnson dose. So that's progress as well. Maybe a little disappointing is that nationally, we see 41% of the US population being fully vaccinated and 50% with at least one vaccine or vaccination. So we're lagging about 10% behind the rest of the country in terms of our rates of vaccination. That's not where we want to be, obviously, but that's our current situation anyway with regard to vaccines.
So are there any opportunities for members of UTIA to get vaccinated if they haven't already been?
Well, now that's a great question, because one of the big activities we have coming up next week is a great opportunity to get vaccinated. On June 9th, we're going to have a vaccine clinic right here on the UTIA campus in Brim Animal Science Arena. And that vaccine clinic is going to run from 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock Eastern time. Certainly that clinic's open to all of our faculty, staff, and students from throughout the Institute. It doesn't make sense for those of you in Middle and West Tennessee to drive all the way over for that clinic, certainly, but we're encouraging anyone in nearby counties that would like to attend to sign up and participate. We're also glad to have groups of non-student, non-faculty, non-staff participate as well. Members of our local communities are welcome to participate as well if they would like access to hopefully a very convenient vaccine opportunity. We've got parking arranged right across the street from the Brim Animal Science Arena, so it's free parking, it's easy access. We've got a sign-up system in place so that we can make sure we've got a place for everyone. I have to say at this point, that's not a problem. We're not seeing a lot of sign-ups. I hope that's because all of us have a vaccine and there's no need for additional vaccines. But if you've been thinking that you just haven't had time, it hasn't been convenient, or you just haven't had a good opportunity, well, next week on June 9th is a great opportunity. So join us if you can, and we'll conduct that clinic on June 9th. We'll see how that goes. If there's demand for off-campus remote clinics, we'd like to hear about that. So if you think your community, should you be off campus, would really value some kind of a remote vaccine clinic, let us know. We know that our Family Consumer Science program is heavily engaged in vaccine education. This might be a good complement in a community if we could work it out. So Not positive we can do those, but I'd like to explore it if there's demand or if there's a need. So let us know about that. And let me also remind you, we're not requiring vaccines, but we are sure strongly encouraging everyone to get vaccinated. Numbers are going down, but that doesn't mean there are no cases out there. In fact, I just looked, we had 458 cases that were new yesterday in the state of Tennessee. So on campus, things look great. Across the Institute, things look great. But there are still people getting sick with COVID, and vaccinations will prevent that in a high degree, high percentage of the cases. So consider whether if you haven't gotten a vaccine yet, please consider getting one.
Great advice. So with everything really looking so much better for us as far as the pandemic is concerned, what is the latest COVID guidance?
You know, there's a lot of guidance out there. There's there's new guidance. There's old guidance that maybe is still accessible and yet maybe not so relevant. So honestly, it's been harder to wind down from COVID than it was to gear up for it in some respects. But here's my summary of where I think we're at. First of all, fully vaccinated individuals are no longer required to wear masks. So that's good, right? If you're fully vaccinated, no mask required. Let's take the flip side of that. If you're not vaccinated, fully vaccinated, you are required to wear a mask. How are we going to enforce that? We're not. It's up to each individual to do the right thing. But you know, that's clearly a big change from a couple of months ago. In conjunction with that, we're really seeing that meetings, events, activities no longer require approvals. But they should still be planned with care regarding health and safety. And as an example, right now we're mostly adults here on this call, probably all adults. But think about our youth who are under the age of 12. Vaccines are still not available for them, and so if we're planning a youth event and it will include participants under the age of 12, we have to, you know, provide health and safety practices that will ensure that they don't contribute to the spread of COVID. So even though we're saying meetings, events, and activities can be planned, they no longer require approvals, we do still have to use good sense and follow restrictions for those who cannot be vaccinated. Also, there may be local restrictions in place in some parts of our state, and obviously we've got to follow those local restrictions should there be any. One other point, and I've been asked this several times this week, what about the daily health self-check, the online form that we had asked everyone to fill out, and which everyone did a great job filling out, but that form is no longer required, so no need to start your day with that. But again, I would say don't forget about the things that we've been asking each person every day on that form. I think they have served us well in reminding ourselves about not coming to work sick. So we still want to follow that practice. And the other major change, I think, is visitors are now allowed. They're under the same CDC guidance as the rest of us, and that is if they're fully vaccinated, they're not required to wear masks, just like our employees are not required. Close quarters places still have additional restrictions, and I think about the College of Veterinary Medicine when I say that. We've got individuals within the college working shoulder to shoulder in terms of practicing medicine, and because of that, we still have to take even greater precautions there. But otherwise, we certainly should expect our offices to be open and accessible, and visitors welcome in those offices. You've probably seen plans announced for fall semester on campus. And it includes full capacity campus operations, including dining, housing, in-person classroom instruction. All that is back to a pre-COVID state. We're going to follow the normal academic calendar with the standard breaks. So for those of you with teaching appointments, there will be a fall break this fall, I believe. Normal operations for campus events and activities. And we expect all the campus offices to be staffed. And I think I could extend that to say we expect all our institute offices certainly to be staffed as well. So that's hopefully a quick summary. We're revising the guidance on our COVID webpage. UT Knoxville is revising their guidance. Tennessee Systems revising their guidance. So we're all in a state of kind of catching up to what current CDC guidance is as we make further progress through the pandemic.
Great. And we have been updating the coronavirus website as well as best we can, but we'll continue to do that as well. So Tim, you mentioned the ramping up of activities, and we certainly are seeing many more of those. So are there any that you want to mention that are specific to us?
I will mention a few, and I'll also say I started my morning by joining the Beef Expo down at the McMinn County Agricultural Expo Center. Saw about 100 of our friends and partners and stakeholders down there, and it was good to be a part of that event. So thinking about future events, I'll start with Monday, June 7th. We're going to observe the centennial of Morgan Hall, and this will be a ceremony that'll celebrate the inauguration of Morgan Hall, the opening of Morgan Hall. We're going to celebrate at 2 o'clock, and everybody is certainly welcome to attend that. We'll do that ceremony out front under a tent. We know it's going to be a nice, sunny, dry day, but if it's not, we've got a tent to either shelter us from the sun or whatever else might happen. So that's one opportunity, is June 7th, Morgan Hall Centennial Celebration. The very next day, June 8th, we've got an online informational session planned. While that's not face-to-face, I think it'll be a really interesting discussion. Dr. Linda Martin, who is the Vice President for Academic Affairs with the UT System, is going to join us and just talk through this new campus that's a part of the UT System as of July 1, which is called UT Southern. And I know, again, for those of you in Middle Tennessee in particular, maybe lower Middle Tennessee, you're aware of the Martin Methodist College, but that will soon become part of the UT System. We'll call it UT Southern. And I think Linda's going to just provide an overview of what UT Southern currently offers in terms of degrees and educational opportunities, and then also maybe do some brainstorming about what future possibilities might be there that would perhaps have some connections with the Institute of Agriculture specifically. Looking a little further out, we're going to have our annual UTIA Awards Luncheon on July 30th. Sorry, not June 30th, but July 30th. And we'll be sending out invitations for that in the next few weeks. We're going to do that awards luncheon in Brim Animal Science Arena. So that's a new location for us. That's because where Hollingsworth Auditorium was previously, we now have a hole. So no more building there. They're working on the foundation for the new building as we speak. So we'll do the awards luncheon in Brim Animal Science Arena. And then for those of you looking way ahead on your calendars, I want to let you know that we've scheduled Ag Day this fall on October 16th. And that'll be in conjunction with the home football game versus Ole Miss. So we always start Ag Day about 4.5 hours prior to the game time, and we won't know game time probably until a week before the game. So in the meantime, if you want to think about attending Ag Day this year, October 16th, mark it on your calendar, and we'll be providing obviously more information about details and plans for that event as we get a little closer to it. So those are some coming up both near and far, and I'm sure we'll have others being planned and conducted over the next few weeks.
Absolutely. Well, Tim, I'd say you have been so thorough. Apparently, no one has any questions. So I guess we'll let you just jump right into final remarks.
Well, I can do that, but let me also just say how great it's been to have everyone really rolling up their sleeves and returning to the workplace. Obviously, I haven't been to every office across the entire state, but I've been to several. It's great to see everyone. I appreciate the positive attitudes. I know we're all maybe a little uncertain about what the world holds right now, given the uncertainty of the past 18 months, but to a person, everyone I've run into has just been so positive about the opportunity to really re-engage with people. And I just want to thank everyone for that and appreciate you getting back into the workplace. I'm not going to say I appreciate you coming back to work because I know you've been working throughout this time period. But it's great to see you on campus in our county offices and helping to really serve students, carry out research, carry out clinical work, and do our extension program so well. I see David Perrin on here. He and I made a pit stop into the McMinn County office this morning, and there wasn't a soul in the office, but there's a good reason for that. They were over conducting the Beef Expo at the McMinn County Expo Center, but a nice office there that'll serve us well in the near future. So anyway, let me get to a few final remarks, and if any other questions come in or have come in, I'm glad to address them. You probably notice we're starting to move away from focus solely or even largely on COVID, and I hope and pray that'll be the case for the next couple of fireside chats as well. We've talked about our faculty and staff returning, being back in the workplace. Everyone that isn't back in the workplace, I hope they're having discussions with their supervisors and making appropriate plans so that we're sure all of our offices are open, that we've got them staffed, that certainly if there are health challenges in any of those offices, we want to address them. But let's be sure we've got our offices open and we're serving our audiences as we need to. And we talked about a lot of relaxations of restrictions today in terms of masks and health checks and so forth. But I'd also say, you know, let's be reminded there's a few things that I think we ought to continue to do. First and foremost, stay home when you're sick. You know, I think we've seen not only did that help us to manage our COVID numbers, but it really had a positive impact on the number of people that were sick. And that's a good thing for your health. I'm not just thinking about institute and employment, but I'm thinking about your health, your family's health. If we all stay home when we're sick, it helps everyone else, and it reduces the transmission of viruses and diseases. So let's keep doing that. I think the other thing we probably can keep doing and makes a lot of sense is to wash our hands frequently. You know, I've gotten in such a habit of doing that. I do it without thinking anymore, but I think that also has helped to reduce the transmission of viruses. I also want to remind us, we said, well, if you're fully vaccinated, you don't have to wear a mask. Let's make sure we respect those who choose not to get a vaccine, but then do wear a mask. That's their choice, and any of us certainly can choose to wear a mask. There's no reason to single anyone out because of that. You know, in many ways, it's just another piece of clothing. So let's respect those who choose to wear a mask, and let's respect the need to stay socially distant without knowing a person's vaccination status. And then finally, I've already probably harped on this too much, but I want to encourage everyone to consider getting a vaccination. If you've got health reasons why that's not a possibility, I fully understand. I'm not trying to become anyone's personal physician, but I really think it's to all of our benefit to get as many people vaccinated as possible. So final reminder about restrictions there and about possible steps to take. And don't forget about the June 9th vaccine clinic here on campus.
So you weren't going to be able to get away with at least not getting one question at least. So we do have one. And that is, can you address why faculty can't ask students that work in their labs to ask them to come work in their labs, even if they've been fully vaccinated?
Ask that again, why we can't ask them to come to work?
Yes, in the labs, even if they've been fully vaccinated.
Well, I did not know that was a restriction. Now, our labs all have a health and safety plan, and I'm not sure that we've revised those given the change in COVID status here.
You know what? I've misread this. I'm sorry. Let me read this again. Why we can't ask students that work in their lab if they have been vaccinated. I'm sorry. So why can't we ask them that?
So I think we can ask, and they can choose to voluntarily share that information, or they can choose not to share that information because it's personal health information. But if we have a restriction in the lab that requires everyone to wear a mask, we can certainly enforce that restriction, regardless of whether they've had a vaccine or not. So I think, again, we should have health and safety plans in place for each of our labs, and we need to follow what those say. I see Dr. White's on here. I'm not sure if Dr. Shin's on, but David or Hongwei, either of you want to weigh in on that with regard to laboratory safety practices?
Yeah, thanks, Dr. Cross. So we are currently reviewing the language around laboratory in reference to pandemic health safety activities, and are working with Dr. Crawford right now and potentially putting together new messaging that will go out next week or the week after regarding health safety plans as we move into the fall.
So Dave, just to make sure I'm correct here, if a health and safety plan that's currently in place requires masks, we're still following that, or if an individual is fully vaccinated, can they deviate from that plan?
Yeah, I believe the latter. They can
Okay.
they can deviate if they've been vaccinated.
So I'd welcome anyone, to share a follow-up or to, weigh in on that, because clearly we're not at a point where everything's exactly one way or exactly another. We're in a transition phase, and that's always challenging. So I'm not sure what Dr. White and I just provided there provides explicit guidance, but hopefully it gives a little bit of help to addressing that question.
Great. Well, those are the questions, the only question we had today. And so we'd like to thank everybody for joining us today. And do note that we will have our next Fireside Chat on July 2nd. So we hope to see you then. So thanks, Tim, once again.
Great. Thanks for joining us today. Good to see everyone.
Bye.